Hi, I'm back for another video today. So this is my second live video. I've just suddenly realised how to work Instagram now, of course. So this is going to be quite fun. You might get me seeing me more of these, quite regularly even. So anyway, I just thought I'd talk to you about this Venus Saturn that's coming up over this weekend. Venus square Saturn is going to build up over the weekend. Okay, so. What's happening here, of course, is Venus, the planet of, as I referred to in my earlier video, if you look at the current affairs at the moment, this idea of self-isolation is quite encapsulates that Venus in Aries, because Aries can tend to do things on its own, and Venus is the idea of Aries isolation, and Venus in Aries puts itself away from others. It wants to be in relationships, it loves it, but when it's in a relationship, it then tries to create some space. So if that was as a collective thing across the world, then there's people sort of going, well, what is this coronavirus? It's like, I want to be close, but I don't know, what do I do? And so that's a kind of that Venus in Aries thing. And today, of course, is the Venus square Pluto, which digs up all that stuff about what is happening with coronavirus. Anyway, over the weekend, let's get to this next aspect. Venus squares Saturn. So Venus will get by Tuesday, Venus will get to 28 Aries. It will then be squaring Saturn at 28 Capricorn. Now, let's have a sort of break this down a little bit into the idea of what keywords will be, possibly have a look at what the news might be saying, that sort of stuff. So we're looking at this idea at the moment that, Saturn is rules, boundaries, restrictions, limitations. Saturn is the borders between countries. So what you might find is that suddenly people are going, we've got to apply border restrictions. And so there might be the idea that, in order to create more, this idea of self-isolated things, to create some spaces, shutting down the borders. That's a very Saturnian thing. And the Venus in Aries is very likely to sort of trigger that, I think. In our own lives, Venus aspect to Saturn, is usually a difficult one, okay? It's like trying to be loving, trying to be helpful, trying to be friendly, trying to attract, trying to do all these things, but then finding there's a brick wall or something that blocks you. And usually it's, of course, the internal narrative, what goes on in here, rather than what's happening out there. But it is very much a Venus-Saturn thing, where you feel like, I'm trying to get across to someone. It can also be the endings of things to a certain extent, because Saturn can provide that sort of distance and separation. But it can also be the sense that there's what's needed here. Let's have a think about that for a minute, because you see, with Venus being the planet of relationships, the planet of attraction, the planet of values. Look right now, the stock market is really shaky, okay? Venus square Pluto, which is happening today as well, they say that, the stock markets are crashing right now, That's a very Venus square Pluto thing, Investors are going to be hoarding. They're going to be selling, right? Because Venus in Aries is making them do things ardently and hastily. Quick, sell everything and have it, get it back. So they don't want to see it drop in value. So, the stock market's shaking, that's doubly backed up by Tuesday. Monday morning, the stock markets, what's going to happen over the weekend, right? Stock market's closed today, Friday evening. I'm recording this Friday, Monday, the weekend happens. Monday morning, what's going to happen, right? Coronavirus is going wild. This is really interesting from the observer's point of view that we have, a Venus square Saturn happening on Monday, Tuesday. So, I think it's really indicates quite possibly a huge shift in the markets, in the economies, finances, and things like that. And so we will see what happens. Okay, in your own life, in relationships, I think I mentioned that already. Just be. Saturn is the planet of time tested things. Durability is very Saturn. So Venus square Saturn is, can you keep going? Are you used to what you do with your relationship? Is it something that's worth extending longer? Being committed to it. Are you forcing yourself to make a commitment? Because that's the square. Or is it something that, maybe you're creating some tension about commitment? How long do I make this relationship last for? So various things like that to consider. But I hope you have a good weekend. I hope I get this video up onto social media like I'm planning on doing so. I don't know what I've got to press now because I'm experimenting with it all. But I hopefully will see you again soon, and enjoy the moon growing in light over the next few days, because next week I'll be back to talk to you about the first quarter moon when the sun's in Pisces and the moon will be in Gemini. That will be next week, and probably record again on Tuesday actually, when after the Saturn square. So goodwill to everybody, and hope you're having a good weekend, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.